Ms. Morris, you were a senior advisor at NTIA when the BEAD funding, notice of funding opportunity was developed and implemented. You know as much about this program as anybody, so I appreciate you being here with us today. Was it NTIA's decision or the White House's decision to include the fiber preference?
So it's a complicated question to answer. The NOFO, it was NTIA's decision. The Assistant Secretary signed off on the NOFO and released it, and a lot of discussion went into the preparation and decision-making behind the NOFO. And as we were drafting, as NTIA was drafting the NOFO, a lot of factors went into how each equity was threaded and the ultimate goals of the program that we wanted to achieve. And the goals that we wanted to achieve were to push fiber as far out as economically possible and to allow other technologies, which we recognize would be important in reaching the goal of connecting everyone in the country to affordable, reliable, high-speed internet, to allow those technologies to be a part where fiber was not economically feasible.
Gotcha. Did the extraneous requirements on labor and climate come from NTIA or the White House?
The entire NOFO came from NTIA and was signed off by leadership at NTIA.
Appreciate that. And so then it was NTIA's decision to force states to regulate rates despite the law's prohibition for that? Or was that from the White
The law
House?
is very clear that every state is required to set a low-cost option in consultation with the Assistant Secretary and in consultation with NTIA and with approval of the Assistant Secretary. And NTIA followed the law in regard to that requirement.
Well, were you aware that NTIA was violating the law by forcing states to include a rate or formula for a rate in their initial proposals?
NTIA followed the letter of the law as we interpreted it.
Okay. Well, I appreciate that answer. Mr. Spellmeyer, I've heard from many providers that plan to participate in the BEAD program that these unnecessary requirements will continue to delay broadband deployment. Do you agree that removing labor requirements, rate regulation, climate standards, as well as streamlining permitting will speed up the broadband deployment?
Yes, Mr. Chairman, my members support all of those items you just listed. It's certainly been in some of those instances, it causes delay. In others, it increases prices, costs, and therefore the number of areas you can cover.
I agree with that. Mr. Donovan, NTIA has not administered the BEAD program in a technology-neutral way. How has the lack of tech neutrality in BEAD affected CCA's members?
As our members look at the opportunities for BEAD, they're just asking to be able to use every way they possibly can to connect their neighbors. I think they know their geographies, they know the challenges, they know if you need to go around a river, they know where wireless makes the most sense, they know where to put fiber, and so just asking for that flexibility.
Well, you know, my state experienced a devastating hurricane last fall. We had folks disconnected from loved ones for days, unable to reach emergency workers for help. What can we do to restore connectivity faster during recovery efforts in the future?
Yes, as we work with our members, especially in North Carolina and in places where entire wired networks were completely washed away, restoring wireless and mobile services is an immediate way to provide connectivity. And what would be really beneficial for that is making sure that those carriers can use their spectrum resources most efficiently to connect their neighbors and their communities. So that includes things like taking spectrum licenses they have in the CBRS band and being able to use power levels that are comparable to neighboring bands that allows signal to go 3 to 5 times further from the same tower. So things like that would be really helpful to make sure you can restore services immediately.
I appreciate that.